We'll start as usual with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll call us to order. The flag's over there in the corner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. We have an agenda in front of us. We need to approve it. I'd like a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. We have the minutes of November 9th, last week. I've taken a look at them. Look pretty good to me. I need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve, and whenever anybody wants to make a second.
I'll second.
Okay,
Carol.
seconds. Take a look at it. Anybody see anything they need to fix? If not, I'm going to ask for a vote to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. I'm going to start by simply saying that we made a lot of progress last week, and I think Jared has got kind of up on the screen. We've kind of laid out what we essentially came to, which was 15 years, assume a 5% growth, and then what he did was go through the projects and using the same, essentially the same percentage approach for the general, that we have on the original proposal, bringing that down. So we get to see how much money we're dealing with for each of these projects. So Jared, do you want to chat at all about what we're dealing with him?
I can go through just a little bit and then hand it back to you guys. So based off of last week, we moved the big projects to the top. Can't remember the notes, so y'all correct me. We took the 10% out and we put it into projects, or the program projects. I was getting mixed up on, I called that 40%. If I'm wrong, I'll take correction. So 40% out of 1.625 billion gets us 650 million. These are the projects that equals 445 million, so the difference then is the 205 million. And then on the program projects, have it 55%, so 895 million, and we haven't changed any of these percentages of that. And then Greenbelt's at 5% is 80 million. The other task that Dean, you had asked to take a look at is a little bit, what about these projects? What would those projects look like? Just some examples. So the next page, just to go through a few. These are not a full list. These are, like I said, just examples. So safety, traffic, what do we imagine on types of projects? So those are intersection improvements or spot turn lane improvements, Rebo Road and Ladies Island Drive. That $2 million is part of the Reimagine Rebo that we've been talking about a lot. There's a kind of short-term right free flow right turn lane at Advanced Auto Parts there. It's about $1 million in work, and then some right-of-way and utility costs, so $2 million. At 278 in Gumtree, as part of the bridge project and the recommendations out the latest independent review, they said, hey, if you make a few changes at Gumtree, that'll kind of free up some of that flow through there, because there's only 2 lanes instead of 3 lanes flowing through that intersection. And so just small little improvements that would make a significant amount of safety or traffic enhancement. And then this is not a specific project, but this is an example. So back north of the Broad on 170 there at Walmart and Paris Island Gateway, about maybe a year ago, DOT came in. This is not a county project, but DOT came in and put those concrete medians in the middle. Now they're kind of ugly, but they're effective, and what they were trying to do is keep people from taking lefts out of Walmart and out of the driveways close to the intersection, so the intersection flows better, and to get rid of some conflict points. So that would be a safety type project that's really low cost, pretty easily readily accessible. You don't have to get major permitting, and it made a pretty substantial difference as far as flow through there. Again, it's not necessarily pretty. We could do more on the pretty side, but a project like that is kind of in that $350,000 to $500,000 ballpark. Yes, sir.
You're saying introduce those to the other side of it? I mean, because the one.
No, I'm not saying introduce anymore. I'm just kind of using that as an idea. Everybody that's driven through there can recognize that, and that would qualify as like a safety project. So these would be things that we could do all over the county. Somebody makes a call next week and says, hey, this intersection needs improvement. We can grab funds from it and quickly and effectively make significant improvement throughout the county at spot intersections and stuff.
So these are examples of actual projects that fit into those buckets.
Yep. Yeah, and kind of the price range. Now, I wouldn't see like $20 million projects out of here, but you might have a $5 million intersection. And we can develop criteria on how that gets selected, so it's not just somebody calls up and then we put it in front of their house and they've got a stoplight type thing. Morris?
Yes, you're going to discuss the pavement resurfacing
Yep,
concept too? Oh, so, okay.
Yep. Any more on safety kind of thoughts, Carol? Sunset Boulevard, that's another one I didn't put on there. So we have a plan to do some safety enhancements for the entire length of Sunset. Right now, the 2018 plans has Sunset and Miller, but it doesn't continue down Sunset. So we've done some work with DOT on some traffic calming. That would be one that would fit in this type of bucket.
So I just want to go backward when you said we're showing this to the public as an idea of what your money would be used for in each bucket, right? You're also saying we're going to have a process by which these are chosen, and I assume that you're not going to recreate the wheel. You're just going to take what Charleston did, because we heard from that fella, I can't remember his name.
Yep, Jim.
Jim, he was great because he said we had real trouble with that, but when we had we set up a process, then it became rather easy to pick and choose which projects. We would just be kind of cloning theirs, right?
That's right. Well,
Okay.
cloning / editing as we see fit. So they had their criteria, if that criteria is important to us.
Right.
And to me, I would see this from y'all's seat where y'all are sitting. Y'all are making a recommendation to council. This is the project list. If you do this program, and we're going through kind of projects that would fit in the program, I think a good recommendation or suggestion would to put that back on county council to you guys work through your committee to figure out what priorities are important to you, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are approving the projects that'll be coming through. So if they want intersections more than turn lanes, then they would prioritize that in however they rank a project, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense, but I think that we're advising that county council, okay, we think you should do, or whatever, a penny sales tax, and this is how we should present it to the public. I do think that the public should be, I think the county council should adopt or do something similar to what Jim talked about, so that the public are assured it's
Uh,
not going to
yes.
be, you know, oh, well, Carol Roof was on that project, so her lawn is gonna get mowed, or, so, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's no favoritism. It has to be, this is the process which it goes. We have a tick list of points, and the ones with the most points gets it. It doesn't matter whose it is, right? So
Yep.
that's really important that the public know that, because I've been the one to tell everyone that the public does not have trust in the county council as it is. And so I think if we put that as a recommendation to the county, that's important to me, because otherwise people aren't going to, they're not going to give money for a bucket.
Yep, that
So-
makes sense. I don't know where you guys are sitting and the time commitment that y'all are under, that this group has time to develop that criteria, but to tell county council, before y'all go to November, y'all need to have a criteria that the public can be comfortable with.
That's exactly right. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Jared.
Okay, any more on safety?
The only thing I would suggest would be that, to the extent we have this, we ensure everybody understands these are examples.
Yes.
These are not, we're not necessarily advocating any of these particular projects, but these are examples of the kinds of projects that would fit into these categories.
So the public would have an understanding, oh, I get it, I'm voting yes or no for this bucket, and that bucket would do these types of things.
Right.
Yeah. And so Rebo Road would have to go through that index and see where it ranks relative to Gumtree.
Right.
Question, what is like lighting, like lights on the side of the road or lights on like the walking bridge or
Yep.
whatever? What does that fall in?
So there's some things that could fall in a couple different buckets. That would be one of them. So that could be in safety, or that could be in pathways. And yeah, it could fall either way. That's a good point. A lot of, Carol and I were talking about this driving here. We rode down Buckwalter and Bluffton Parkway, and there's not one stitch of lighting on that. The pathway is great. People were using it like heck, but I'm sure right now nobody's on it.
They are, and it's not safe.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. So,
And the
so
random
there you
golf cart
could,
comes down it.
that's where safety comes in, because
Yep.
now we've created an asset that's a really great asset. Now we've extended it and created a safer function of using that asset. So, all right, pavement and resurfacing and pavement resurfacing and preservation. So we have some existing paving programs, so rather than recreate the wheel, back to what you just said, Carol, there's sort of some programs that are already established that have indexes already built into them. And so the intent would be that we would basically pour more fuel into those programs. And so currently, Ms. Tavernick sits as the liaison to the CTC committee, and they get about $4 million a year, $3 to $4 million a year, which comes from gas tax, totally separate from sales tax. But they use that to fund local paving projects. Most of it is on county-owned assets, but some of it is on DOT-owned assets. That's just their rules of engagement. So each year, we put out about a $6 million paving project. We have a 5-year paving plan on the county-owned roads. And what we've done, our roads are basically in a pretty good condition, the county-owned roads, not the DOT. Some of theirs are okay, but they have a lot more roads to take care of. So, so we could add to that to keep those roads that we own and maintain in good and great condition. What we've done, you see mill, refill, microsurface, and rejuvenator. So in the past, before we had a yearly program, we assessed all the roads and we said, these are the roads that need attention today, tomorrow, and the next day. Before we had that, we would just go out every time, pick some roads that were in bad shape, mill them, and put more asphalt. Now, we weren't keeping the good roads in good condition, we were just repairing the bad roads. And so you never get ahead. Pavement preservation is about doing the right treatment on the right road at the right time. So if you only focus on the bad roads, you're spending the most money and you're letting the good roads slip through your fingers. So now that we have our roads in a fair to good condition, we can filter in these preservation techniques. So the microsurface is like a half-inch or 3/4 inch mix that goes over the top, and it basically seals a good road. You don't put it on a bad road. You put it on a road that's fairly new, maybe some minor cracks, and it seals those so water doesn't penetrate and make the asphalt deteriorate further. And then Rejuvenator, we've started this 2 years now. You put this on a brand new road. So you pave it this year, either the next year or the following year, you spray it. It looks like an asphalt spray, and then it goes on pink and it dries clear. And basically it dives into the components of the asphalt and has a chemical reaction and rejuvenates the asphalt content so that it stays flexible longer. So that is by far the cheapest opportunity to keep the road in good condition. So, so we have a program. So basically this pavement preservation would be helping add to that program and keep those roads in good conditions. Also expand the program beyond just county roads, but to all roads. People don't know whether they're driving on a county road, a DOT road, a city road. So the goal would be, this is my goal, Jared Freilich's goal, is I don't want to be a pothole in Beaufort County. And as soon as you get across from Jasper County or from Colleton County, I want your tires to sound, you go rumble, 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 bump, and then smooth throughout the entire county. That's my goal. So this would be doing the same system as much as we can to support DOT projects as well. I saw a hand.
Yeah. When I see them injecting some epoxy in the roads, what is that?
Like a black into the crack. So that's a crack
Hollow
seal.
vines.
What that is, that's kind of in between number 2 and number 3. What you're trying to do is keep water out of the substructure, because that's when you get a pothole. So by filling in the cracks, it basically seals in the top of the road. Now it's ugly, but it's a cheap preventative maintenance. A lot of times you'll see them come over that if they've got the money the following year with a layer of asphalt. And then same thing, like I said, add Rejuvenator. What DOT, they've got more roads than they have money. And so you'll see them pave a brand new road, a big section of road, and then they really don't touch it until it needs completely resurfacing again. So the goal would be that we come along DOT with this Rejuvenator, which is the cheapest thing, and spray their roads a year or 2 after they pave them, so we keep all the roads in Beaufort County in a good shape. Patching contracts, kind of what you're mentioning, Untron. So patching is, sometimes we have roads that just have a couple bad spots. The rest of the road's in decent condition. So if we could just grab those spots, that makes a significant amount of difference. It's just that simple. So having a yearly patching contract. Rural roads, CTC is working on this, but with limited funding, is a lot of the roads in the country, in the rural areas with low volume, they're never going to get attention from DOT because DOT just doesn't have enough money to throw at farmer to market roads. So doing some type of treatment, maybe not a full asphalt treatment, but some other mechanism to pave or enhance those roads that a lot of people drive on, that live on those roads, but they're really never going to get improvement outside of some measure like this.
So what is the ADT resurfacing?
Average daily traffic.
Average daily traffic.
Okay.
So that's not like a full dirt road, that's just,
That's like a road out in the country that that you're going and you got 5 houses in a mile, like just a country road, farmer to market road.
that private road or that has
No,
to be
a
county
DOT road. So the county doesn't really own those type of roads. Those are predominantly owned by DOT. But DOT has limited funding to improve those roads because they want a biggest bang for their buck is to improve a primary route. So you'll have a road that's in less than ideal condition, but they're in District 1, and District 1 should have road improvements just like District 11 should have road improvements. And then dirt road paving, so we have a dirt road paving program. This is paid from, currently from our tag fund, so every year you renew your tags for your vehicle. There's a $20 charge, and we do about $2 to $2.5 million of our dirt roads. We have about 75 miles of dirt road, and I get asked frequently by Mr. Glover and Mr. Dawson, how long will it take us to pave all those dirt roads? And at that clip, we're getting about 4 roads a year, or about 2 miles, so about 40 years is the answer. So this program could add fire to that. Now, if we just put $40 million there tomorrow, we couldn't get that done tomorrow because we've got to go get right-of-way and different things. So there's no use throwing $40 million on day one, but with the program, and you've got a percentage, if we doubled or tripled our program, that would bring that 40 years to 15 years or 20 years.
As you said, it takes about $1 million to do 1 mile of dirt road.
Yeah, about.
That's only 2 miles of dirt road.
And not every dirt road is a mile long, so
know,
we're
but-
typically getting 4 roads, 3 to 4 roads a year in our dirt road paving program. Morris?
Yeah, Jared, just to talk about dirt roads and paving, and there are a lot of factors that come into play in paving a dirt road in our county. Is there anything else we can do, and I think we've heard this before, to address the passability of those roads other than paving? As far as some maintenance program that we could do, use some of these dollars to do to stabilize or to
Yeah.
improve the drainage or to improve the sidewalks along, or some walking paths along the roads, because I think they're not going to get paved.
Yep.
Because folks are not going to give up that easement that easily, because it basically interrupts the whole little hamlet or the little neighborhood that dirt road runs through. But I think we need to get some innovation as far as how we address that problem, because that segment of the population is still crying that, we are paving everyone else's road or doing something with everyone else's road without even coming to grade hours, and the fire truck can't get there, the ambulance can't get there, and they have tough time getting there on rainy, wet days. So what else can we do?
So that could all fit in this bucket, different programs. So Charleston program has a less than standard road. I don't know, that's not quite the name of it, but basically instead of getting 50 feet of right-of-way
Right.
and a 24-foot road, they said, okay, well, give us 30 feet of right-of-way and we'll make an 18-foot road. In Colleton County, I worked there as a county engineer, and we had 300 miles of county-owned road, and only 30 of it was paved.
Right.
And we had less than $2 million a year, and when I got there, they were paving roads. Like, man, you're getting a half of a road done every year. This is going to take 300 years. And so we traded up and said, okay, only the top 10 warrant paving. The next ones, let's do a little bit less. The next ones, let's do a rock. And the next ones, these are going to stay dirt forever, but let's improve the drainage. And so we had a program, everybody that lived on the road that had that situation, they said they wanted a paved road, but when we went out there and rocked the road, they appreciate, what they were really saying, they want an improved road and want to be able to get out of the mud.
Right.
And so there's different things that we can look at. One thing that this would not cover, which is a separate subject, is just like people don't know whether they live on a DOT road or a county road or a city road, sometimes they don't know if they live on a private road.
Right.
So this would not cover private roads. So even if we paved all the county roads in the county, dirt to pave, we would still have complaints about dirt roads, but those dirt roads are private roads. Now, that would be another subject for another day, but this would not be towards that.
Okay, but how would we convince that population or those communities that there's a need for us to approve a penny sales tax? If my road's not gonna be improved, if I'm not gonna get drainage, if I'm not gonna get sidewalk, if I'm not gonna get something out of this deal, why would I
So
support?
their private road may not get improved, but all the roads that lead to their private road, whether it's another county-owned road or a DOT low-volume road or a pathway in that area that doesn't exist, those could be beneficial to that
They can
person.
be improved.
Yeah.
Is there any time any of those schedules are made public? Like somebody can say, well, 2025, I know I'm supposed to get a dirt.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to get
we have that. I don't think we do a good job at broadcasting the schedule, but we have a county-approved dirt road paving plan, a 5-year plan, and a county-approved resurfacing 5-year plan. And there's a whole report and an index on how we developed that plan and how this one made it to the top and not this one.
Is that online, so people?
It's
they-
online inside the engineering department. The problem is it takes 10 clicks to get there, and you're lost by the time you get there. So that's an area we can work on. But, so, different than safety, there's already kind of existing programs. No need to recreate the wheel on paving because we've got a lot of existing programs that already have an index and a criteria. We just need money to continue working those programs. That would be the thought process. Carol?
So
I'm
you
just-
said, I'm sorry.
No, you go right ahead.
So
sir.
you said there are 75 miles of dirt roads in our, okay. That
We own- yeah,
are
we
ready for
own-
paving.
We own 200 miles of road. Excuse me, we own 209 roads, and 75 of it is dirt.
75 miles of it. Okay.
Are you saying roads or miles? When you say 209
There's
roads?
200, we have 209 dirt roads, which, I'll get that number. Don't quote me. I've got it. I sent that email out this week. I should have memorized it.
So I'm trying to understand the whole complex issue.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing, we have dirt roads, there's not enough money to pave all the dirt roads. Furthermore, some people that live on dirt roads don't want to pave
Pave road,
and
right.
won't give the right of way.
Right?
But yet, they want something out of the deal. So the question becomes, can we utilize Jared's experience from Colleton, which apparently has lots of dirt roads, that they would rock and maybe do some drainage that would help in times of mud, slides, or rain, or whatever it is that would keep somebody accessing their home on a dirt road, or more importantly, or as importantly, a 911 call
Right.
being, so is there in this plan,
Thinking.
or do we have in our county, something along the lines of what you're describing in Colleton, if I'm understanding the
Dialogue, yeah.
problem to begin with?
We don't have it as defined as what Colleton has. So Colleton started with a dirt road paving plan, and then we it was an iterative process that we moved from just paving to a paving and rock and storm. So what we were doing in Colleton is, and I didn't have the opportunity to stay there that long, but where we were headed is, all right, let's do a paving project this year. Next year, we're only going to do rocking. And then the next year, we might be doing rocking and storm drainage. And then we'll do a paving project the third year or the fourth year. We just didn't have near as much funds as we even have in Beaufort.
Okay, so Beaufort has funds, and of course, if we raise a penny, we'll have even more funds.
funds, right.
So my question is, could our plan include paving, rocking, drainage, and different roads that would be considered for paving, and several that just, hey, we're never gonna pave you, but we're gonna do rock this year, we're gonna do drainage next year, or we're gonna,
I'm not sure that we want to get in
that
to
deep
that
in
much
the weeds?
detail.
No, we don't, yeah, we're not getting into
Okay.
details, just the
It does seem to-
problem that I want addressed, that I think we need to address if we're gonna get the kind of support that we're looking for.
Well, and what it can be is, even though we have a program, if that's not the program that we need to, maybe we need to expand that thought on the program, and that can be a recommendation to county council to explore this. So when you say dirt road paving program, it is more inclusive.
Right.
And I would just wonder which ones of them that would, you know, prohibit 911 calls from getting back there, is, you know? or is
Yeah, and that
just a-
can be a factor in how we prioritize which road gets improved.
Pretty much high at top of the list.
When I was at Colleton, the 911 calls was a factor, but it wasn't the only factor, and we didn't have the data, so I just got with Public Works Director. I was like, give me a 1, 2, or 3 if this is a hard road or a easy road to maintain. So that was the only data we had. So he had 40 years of experience, and I created a system based off his knowledge that was limited, but his knowledge wasn't limited, the system was limited, but anyways. I do have the number for you. We have a total of 857 county-owned roads. 203 of those are dirt roads, which equivalent to 76 miles
Okay.
of dirt road.
Thank you. Okay, so just to finalize, I didn't mean to get in the weeds. I apologize if I did that. I think that maybe it warrants an asterisk on the recommendation, dirt roads, to include, or we're recommending that you include not only paving, but rocking and drainage for roads that will never be paved.
Yeah.
You know,
And
maybe
I-
it could be as simple as that.
And I have pulled up, I don't want to mess the screen up, but as another exhibit to look at tonight, if y'all want to, is what Dean prepared at the end of last year as, here's our and it was like a 5-page memo to council.
Right.
And included in that was the specific recommendations of the 10-year, $700 million program, but it had a bunch of discussion points, just like we're talking tonight,
Okay.
that were, we want you to consider this, this, and this too.
Eric, the dirt roads are, just for my knowledge, the dirt roads, the 203 dirt roads that you name, are they eligible at this point for paving?
Sort of. The answer is yes, they're county-owned and maintained, they're county-maintained roads. Some of those are considered what we call legacy roads that we don't have a full title to, that we've been maintaining, so we have prescriptive easement. So part of our ranking criteria is, have we already, and we try to do this at least 2 or 3 years out, we have a right-of-way manager that goes and try to work with the landowners to get the right-of-way donated ahead of the paving project. If we do that, then it sets up the paving project where it moves quicker versus if we put it out and then try to acquire it. So those 203 roads are roads that we have maintained. We don't own right-of-way on all of it. And sometimes that's one of the points where, okay, well, we're never going to pave this road because we're just going to continue to maintain it. All right.
It does seem to me that it would be worth the county's effort and time, working with the planning department, to come up with a clear policy document that defined everything and laid out a plan that said, this is our plan for dealing with dirt roads. And at some point, it may be that dealing, identifying dirt roads that you don't own, but that you maybe should own, because many of them are getting bigger and bigger as properties develop. You know, they might have started out with 2 houses, now they've got 10 houses. So, I mean, it seems to me that the process of coming up with a document which deals with these issues, I don't think it's our job to get into that level of detail here.
No,
But I do think that the county having a document that they can hand somebody and say, this is what we're dealing, this is how we deal with dirt roads. Here, take this.
We have some of that, not to the full extent. We have, if somebody wants to petition a road to come into the system, how that process happens, but we don't have an evaluation of, currently that one over there is private, and we should probably make that one public. And this one is public, and we should probably make it private. We don't have an overall document like that, but we do have some documents on accepting new roads. So, but good point. You want me to move on?
Yep, please, I'm sorry.
All right, so pathways, again, these are examples. So in 2021, and I should have listed this, but we developed a countywide pedestrian and bicycle master plan. And what was interesting is we've got a lot of good components spread out the county, but they're not necessarily connected, especially with any strategy. We've got some here, some there. Spanish Moss Trail is great. But so what the big thought that came out of that master plan was focus on the spine network on your major routes and get that accomplished. So then you have some connectivity to different points of interest. Then off of the spine road, you can start making feeder roads. So a good example is Bluffton Parkway and Buckwalter. So that would be a spine. And then if you want to go into a subdivision, that would be the neighborhood, the rib cage kind of off of the major spine. Does that make sense? So one of the major ones that is described in that plan is SC 170. So even though the average bicyclist might not traverse that whole 15 miles, one that's part of the East Coast Greenway, so you have a lot of people that are going that route on their own. But secondly, then you can have all the development that you have, a Malin Bluff type development or a Shadow Moss. They can have a road in the neighborhood that even is paid by the neighborhood, the developer, that then ties into the spine where people can walk from their house safely onto a sidewalk, onto a larger pathway, and have safe access the whole way. So 170 is I don't want to scare y'all with this, but I mean, that's a $100 million project as a pathway because you're traveling, you also got to get across the Broad River and the Chichessie Creek. So you got to have some accommodations. But if you did that and you had a 10-foot pathway or 12-foot pathway entire stretch, you really have some super connectivity. You also have a lot of wetlands and just a whole bunch of issues there. But if I was to say, if I could do one project, that would be the one pathway project. But then all these smaller ones, so the Depot, the Meridian Road, Stewart Point, it would come off of your big network. Spanish Moss Trail, there's no reason why that can't be extended one finally down into Port Royal, which that's working its way, but even the other way, all the way up to Yamasee. So anyhow, those are the idea. What we did in the pathways in the 2018, we did this shotgun approach, and we didn't have the master plan developed yet, and we are paying for it now because we've got 24 pathways, which many of them aren't necessarily desired. Like we get out there in the community and they're like, we don't want this pathway, not in front of my yard. And so at least now we have a vetted plan with the master plan. And then anyhow, so that's that's the concept or the idea with pathways. And there would probably need to be, again, some type of index. How do we prioritize? One, it needs to probably show up on that master plan, but how do we prioritize this one versus that one?
I just want to say, we don't always get things right in our different towns and in our county, but I truly believe that that's something that the county and the town of Bluffton have done well throughout Bluffton. And to just see over the past 30 years, people out on the pathways. The pathway along 170, really from Bluffton Parkway down to 46, I didn't think anybody'd be walking on that. I see people on that all the time. I see people in front of Hampton Lake, up and down Buckwalter, I expected. But long stretches, and they're out walking, they're riding their bikes, they're enjoying it, and we need that. Believe it or not, that also lightens up our roads, because people aren't hopping in their car to go somewhere to walk. They're walking where they are. Or they're going to the Publix, or, But anyways,
We don't have any
that's a high
true
priority for me. What's that?
I said, and we don't have any true walking parks around here that's like that. You go to Savannah, you have Daffin Park over a mile and it has lights all around it. 5 o'clock in the morning, little old ladies out there walking because they feel safe, but they have lights. But it has nice walking, We don't have anything true to that.
The new Riverside one that the town's working on, and I think the county's on that as well, is going to be the first attempt that I know of in Beaufort County to do something like that. Well, I believe.
And Untron, like you said, lights, that could fit in safety. It could also fit in here. So if we wanted to put lights, even if it was just pathway lighting and not street lighting on the pathways right here, Buckwalter, and that in my eyes would be a pathway project. All right, traffic technologies. So from a cost perspective, this is the biggest opportunity, the biggest cost benefit there is of any traffic problem is with traffic technology. So if you retime a signal and you put signals that are connected together and linked up, and you can go from green light to green light to green light, that costs you a couple $100,000 to do that. The biggest thing that we're missing in that is connecting them through fiber. So right now, a lot of our signals are semi-smart, so they're actuated. If you drive up, it recognizes that there's a car on the side road, and it'll shut off the main road when there's an opportunity. But it doesn't necessarily connect to the next one. We have some of them connected. 278 is decently connected, but it's not optimized. What we do is every 3 years or so, we do a retiming of that. So over the course of 3 years, it uncalibrates, and we're about due for another calibration. So the fiber allows us to have a more synchronized approach and keep them timed better. The adaptive signals, you've heard that on Hilton Head. So that is another level of technology. And so rather than us telling the signal, here's the time, go and put 60 seconds of green time to the main road and 20 seconds to the side road, you put in some parameters, and then the computer thinks for itself, which is kind of good and kind of bad, because at no time can we go in afterwards if there's an accident and tell you what the timing was. I don't know. The computer was doing it. But it really doesn't help when there's congestion. What it does help is if you're on the side road and you're sitting there for 60 seconds and there's a gap in traffic, it'll sense the gap in traffic and stop the main line and let the side road flush, and then open up the main line before the gap closes. That's how reactive it is. But if it's just steady traffic on the main line and you got somebody sitting, it's not going to allow the side road to flush. It's just, so it doesn't help in saturated conditions, but it helps when it's in less than saturation, if that makes sense. Dynamic message boards, we talked about this some at Woods bridge. So if we had a board on Boundary Street or Rebo or at Walgreens, before you get to the place where you need to turn right or left, it says bridge open, that automatically the bridge operator hits a button and it sends a message out, then you know not to go that way. I need to go down Ladies Island Drive.
We need that yesterday.
I know. We are working on that. We have,
It can't be ugly. You cannot do
that's
something
right.
Doge.
So we're not, we don't want to make it
We
look
do-
like
right.
the interstate signage.
Yeah. We're not New Jersey, we're not Newark.
That's right.
So we gotta be careful with
I'm trying to,
Gary
just wants to
what it looks like. It's gotta be pretty.
Dog up later, just give me something. A man in a pole, I don't care.
But there's a lot of technologies that are out there today, and even more that obviously that are in the works, that are coming, that are relatively low cost, but have a pretty high benefit as far as cost benefit. So that's what traffic technology, it's kind of hard to explain. We're currently working, back on the index on this, we're currently working with LATS on an ITS master plan, so Intelligent Transportation Systems, that would say, this is where you need to focus on the fiber to start with, then you need to do this, then you need to, so it'll have a comprehensive plan that's in the works right now. Evacuation, emergency evacuation and resiliency. So this is some of the causeways. We're working on a plan right now to identify the low causeways. We know them just by naming a couple, like Warsaw and MLK, and there's others, Untron, you could probably name, that flood on a king tide. So obviously, what can we do to improve those? It may be that we can add earth and bring them up by 2 feet, or it may be that we're never going to be able to get that permitted, and we have to take out that causeway and replace it with a bridge structure.
Didn't we research or study that before?
There's been some studies on that, not specifically to the roads and the causeways. There's some, this is where floodplain, where it's going to flood in this region of the county versus that region, but not tied directly to the roads.
If you're gonna put this out to the public and you're talking about emergency evacuation and resiliency, I know that this penny is not gonna pay for a third bridge, but there has to be some discussion of a third bridge, because if people think that you're not considering a third bridge, they're not going to support this.
So
So
third-
maybe there'd be like a planning for the third bridge or study on a third, there's gotta be some kind of discussion about a third bridge for
So the
Beaufort.
third bridge and the second bridge to Hilton Head are both a planning document that LATS has on their agenda in the next year or two.
How would that?
So, for instance, if the third bridge was studied by LATS and it was deemed now is the time, you need to add a third bridge to Ladies Island, that would be here under future projects.
Okay.
Or you could take a little bit out of the evacuation and resiliency. Another evacuation one that I hear a lot of from Councilman Glover is, what's the name of the, not Warsaw,
Got the bridge right there.
what's the bridge right past Walmart?
Chowan.
Chowan Creek. So widen that so if there's an accident that you can still have traffic getting past. So there may be an opportunity to do some minor resurfacing and lane restriping to allow for that without having to build a whole new bridge.
That's a pretty damn wide bridge.
Right.
You've got-
So that
you've got-
bridge is,
You've got almost 10 feet on
It's
either
wide.
side of either.
It is
Yeah,
wide.
yeah.
It is wide.
I'm
but there
just-
may be others throughout the area that needs to be evaluated.
If you put the bike path on it, it's not as wide as you think.
If you do that, yeah. But see, you ain't did the widening of the MLK bridge, the bridge on MLK, that would be one.
That would be another one to look at, because
That's
if,
now.
that one doesn't have a shoulder or anything on the MLK. You're right.
All right, let's touch on emergency evacuation resiliency. If my memory is correct, and my memory is not good anymore, but when we talked last meeting, we talked about getting rid of the allocation that that had been proposed to the, however much it was, 10%, I think,
For the neighbors,
allocated to the neighboring counties.
But we didn't word it like that?
No. We thought those dollars would flow into that emergency evacuation resiliency pot, because that would be basically how we would justify
helping.
the expenditures of funds, county funds in other counties. So that pot of money for the emergency evacuation resiliency should, in my opinion, kind of went up from 10% to a higher percent.
Yeah, I think we went, we did bump that up. Let's see. I think it was
Yeah,
at
'cause I
10
saw
and maybe
The whole
we,
thing went up 5, so I bet. No?
I might have, didn't catch it, so,
And you put it, what you said when we started was you move that money
20, right?
into the big projects.
that's right. I think
Technically, everything.
this
went
was
up.
at 50, and I think I put 5 here to make this 55 and 5. This was at 35 and moved it to 40. And I might have, my notes weren't that great last time, so
I've been thinking about that donor, and I'm okay with donor, but I'm thinking about, sounds like we're having a hard time taking care of home. And, I mean, we got dirt roads that we can't get done, we got bridges that need to get widened, we have roads that need to be raised up. I mean, really focus on what we need to do at home and put that money there, so if we have to have, you gotta hire extra crews, whatever, so it don't take 30, 40 years to pave 2 miles of dirt roads.
I'm not necessarily advocating, I just was remembering that we had
Yes, sir,
we
we
had
did
talked
that.
about that, and whether that was, wanted to know whether he had reflected that in that emergency evacuation and resiliency section. But I think it's important to know that we talk about, when we say improve evacuation routes, we've already shown that we've got money going into 21, we've got money going into 170, money going into 278, 46 is a specific project, and the big project. When we say approve evacuation routes, what do you think we mean by that?
Basically, what we're advocating, I think,
Making those investments in those roads, say, for example, 46. Once you get across the bridge into Jasper County,
what he said, making that safe. Let's not push it.
if you, I didn't put on here 321, but 46 turns into 321 in Jasper County. If you paved 321 in Jasper County, you would have Jasper County loving you forever. That's one of the worst riding roads in their whole
Amen.
county. It just happens to be on evacuation route.
Like that road you throw?
Like that road, but I don't like that road.
321, oh, okay, I thought you, oh,
I mean, I like it if it was riding good,
yeah.
yeah.
And 278 turns into 68 in Hampton County, which, again, these are just examples, but anything that shows up on the DOT evacuation route,
Yeah.
that might be a way to phrase it.
And it is, you do look at all this and you say, my goodness, we have to take care of our own. And I get that, I validate that, because you're right. The money should be for the county residents of Beaufort, that's who's raising the money. But in addition to that, we need two things. We need people to be able to get out, away, for their own safety, and we need people to be able to come in and work and service all of these people that live here that don't work, that are retired. I mean, it's such a large retirement
And
population.
that bullet
And
sort
that
of
does help the
quiet
people
people.
here.
Well, I agree. I don't know that we should go any more in depth. I think that gives the freedom to, whether it's in the county, out of the county, follows that route, that kind of. If we start explaining it further, I think
Yeah,
we're
I
thinking
think-
the same thing,
yeah.
that it might muddy.
The question is basically, do we have enough money in there to do what we might want to do?
That was
Where do we
10,
take from?
10% of
Oh,
895, so 90
The
million.
project covers a lot, so let's,
90 million over 15 years dedicated to that bucket at this moment. All right, you want me to hit mass transit? Yep. Multimodal. So multimodal is catch-all mass transit. So right now, our mass transit is basically a commuter route from these other counties that we just mentioned. It really is not going to develop into a major mass transit until there is higher density in the county. That is happening currently to Charleston County. So between now and then, we do have opportunities, and this gets into the 278 bridge discussion and different things. If we were to purchase property and develop it as park and ride before you get to the bridge, and then that's where people drive their car to catch mass transit, that may be an opportunity to be more successful than expecting somebody to walk to the bus stop today. And park and ride, it could be at the interstate in Jasper County. This is another county one if you wanted to look at that, and catch people as soon as they get off the interstate where they have land, and then those people are not on 278 all the way through the county. It could also be as soon as you get on to Hilton Head, you're in the bridge project area on Jenkins Island, just talking out loud here. If there was a place on Jenkins Island and you parked right there, and you didn't drive to your condo or to your hotel, and then your hotel came and picked you up from that park and ride, and you rode the trolley system the whole week while you're at the beach. So taking the cars off the road for that whole week while you're visiting, or in combination with the airport, a park and ride with the airport. Bus rapid transit system, again, we do not have the density to demand it. But what's happening in Charleston County is their growth has happened obviously over the last 25 years. And they are, in essence, retrofitting a bus rapid transit is the next step to eventual light rail. Now, I don't see Charleston having light rail. If it is, it's not for a very long time. Our light rail wouldn't be for 75 or 100 years if we ever needed it. So bus rapid transit system is your closest thing to rail. And what Charleston's doing right now is they're fitting in a project. They've got the same workforce issue, the spread, everything that we have. Everybody's living in Somerville and Dorchester and Berkeley County and trying to come into downtown Charleston. So they've got a 30-mile route where they're retrofitting on Rivers Avenue and other major corridors there for the bus to pick people up. And that cost is like $2 billion because they didn't plan for it. So we know that our growth is heading in a Charleston-like trajectory, not necessarily the same, but it's similar. And if we plan for it now, if we plan our bridges, if we plan all of our road improvements now for that, there's opportunity to be successful for a less cost in out years. Any questions on bus rapid transit?
I see an empty Palmetto Breeze bus going around Bluffton all the time, and it pains me that it's twofold. It pains me that somebody's paying for that.
Yeah.
And it pains me that people aren't taking advantage of it.
But I agree with what was said, to take advantage of it now before it gets where it costs you more to take care of it. And I see some of the opposite. I see lots of people getting off of the breeze, especially around the island and even in Okatee. I see them get off there. Some of them get off right there at the medical center. So, yeah, anytime you can take advantage of it now is yeah, the best thing. And if push comes to shove, they have to slow their process down. It's not like it's gonna be, it's inevitable. This area is growing, period. So that's an inevitable thing. So it'll catch up. But having the game and having the piece in play already, I'll take you there. I get us closer to where we need to be, and also thinking about getting that pathways and those walkways and all of that where people who, the purpose is they don't use their cars, to get there in a safe manner, that's, you know what I'm saying, in a safe manner that, you know, they're not worrying about the alligator sitting on the sidewalk. They can't see it, you know. And I'm talking about the four-legged kind and the two-legged kind, you know. Places that's done it successfully, like Atlanta MARTA system. I mean, hey, they made a way to do it out of what was already there. We won't be on that level, but yeah, if you can get it done now, definitely, because prices are steady going up, and so is opportunity that's going down.
On the empty buses now, so it's actually another way to look at it, to spin it in a positive light, is it takes years to develop ridership. So just like any business, you got the hockey stick that you go down before you be extremely profitable. We're in the bottom part of the hockey stick. So we're close to an inflection point. And what they really don't have is the funding to make the turn. So there's other opportunities out there that even though we don't have density, that they're planning like an Uber-like bus system where you need to go to your medical appointments, dial it up a day before, and they'll plan a route specifically for that day, that we've got 10 different people that said they have an appointment at the hospital at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and they'll plan that out. So the bus will get fuller. So anyhow, don't be discouraged that people aren't using it. Just be encouraged in the fact that soon, if we don't do that, it has to go through that matriculation process to be successful.
And I pulled up the route while we've been talking, and look at, I mean, it's a good route. It goes all the way from USCB in Bluffton to Tanger Outlets, through Old Town and past medical centers and so on. So I don't know, is it a get the word out thing? Is it?
Well, and we're
Yeah.
trying to beat down the gates to
And
get into Sun
side
City.
conversation, I'm sorry.
As Sun City ages, there's going to be less drivers, so the opportunity for them to get out and go to Tanger or go to the grocery store or go to wherever, those are opportunities that Palmetto Breeze is working on right now. So
Right
they're
now, they're in
working.
the Food Lion.
Food Line, yeah, that's the only one you go to because it's in,
No, I mean, the Palmetto
Oh.
Breeze picks up at Food Lion.
because they're not allowed to go in the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
another
Savannah
subject.
Don't
Savannah
stop
already
now.
has electric buses. They're already doing electric buses that come by and drop down. And I was at a parade and I didn't hear the bus. I was like, what in the world's going on here? And they come up and told me they're already in electric buses. So, I mean, for us, I think it's just a matter of time. And transportation actually falls up under me as far as having patients, picking up patients. And I can tell you the number of people that need rides or request rides is like through the roof. I actually need to hire 2 more people to take care of that. So if it was something that took some of that load, I mean, I know the market's there. I know the market's there. 'Cause I know how many people I sent out on routes to pick people up to bring them back and forth. So I'm saying it's just a matter of
Wish it was
time.
there, you know, I wish it was there now, and it will be.
Matter of time before it lines up.
And the main thing, I think that he's saying is that if we sit down now and we look at effectively where the routes are, where they're going to be, and we can make a pretty good judgment about where people are going to and where they're coming from, that to the extent we need to make specific improvements or incorporate those into widening plans, into other kinds of planning that we're doing for these roads and streets, and if we do that today, that's where the money saving is, without having to get, years from now, having to take
278 and retrofit it.
278 to, retro it for it to 4 lanes or something, I mean, but at any rate, thinking about it, planning for it, to me, is important.
And the last one is ferry terminal. So this is only if this statute change, this is not allowed right now. But this, what we've learned in being in the ferry business is, one, we'd prefer not to be in it. That's what we've learned most. But secondly, what we learned is, in order to be in it properly, you've got to own the terminal. And our goal is to own the terminal and farm out the operation. So that way we're not managing boats and Coast Guard certifications and captains and schedules. But the way you raise your hand for funding, if you're trying to get ferry terminal funding, is you've got to have the ownership. So if you don't own where the boat's docking, and currently we don't own where we're docking at Daufuskie Island. So that's an issue. We are also having to leave where we're currently departing from at Buckingham Landing to a different location. So we've got to own that. And then having enough parking and accommodations, it's almost like an airport terminal as far as you have people coming, you have people going, you have long-term, you have short-term parking. Right now we have a park and ride system with that because we don't have enough parking at the locations where people are getting onto the ferry terminal. Long-term, there's 2 additional components that are pretty interesting. Is one, a connection to Savannah to tap into their 15 million visitors and our 3 million visitors, so they can interact between a day trip to Savannah or Hilton Head. Secondly, is a intercoastal in our own community. So if we had an opportunity for somebody to get on the ferry and go from Hilton Head to Bluffton to Port Royal to Beaufort, or to St. Helena to Beaufort to back, there may be something there. It may be that the first thing is a St. Helena to Hilton Head as a workforce issue. So you have a destination that people drive to at St. Helena instead of having to drive your car. And I know a handful of people that live on Ladies Island and drive to Hilton Head, and that's 2 hours out their life each day, each morning, yeah.
If the traffic's good.
So,
We've been saying that for years.
so anyhow, so,
Straight across.
don't know how much of that we can achieve or how much makes sense, but at least having the opportunity to, one, solve the Daufuskie situation, and secondly, expand if that's a viable opportunity. So that's multimodal.
Okay. So that's the project programs. And again, the notion is that, and the decision, of course, is what does the actual ballot look like? And what information is on the ballot document? Because that would then, as opposed to the information that we would utilize or would be utilized in the campaign to support and bring out the voters to vote for it. So that's kind of a question, Jared, I think we need to maybe wrestle with a little bit. So effectively, where we are is we have at least where we are right now is agreed upon a rough period of time, which I guess about 15 years. We've agreed on a projection of a 5% growth rate, which has given us a number to work with. We have a list of specific projects. We have a list of generally bucket-related projects. And so the question is, at some point, and I don't think we got more talking to do, but but not a lot more talk. I mean, we've hit the major points here. So the issue is, putting this into some format that makes sense, and a package that we can take to county council and effectively brief them on it. You think it makes any sense? I mean, last year what we did is, we finished it, we put the stamp on it, I wrote this memo, we walked in the door, they looked at it, and and even the people who had indicated prior to our presentation they weren't supportive of it, voted for it when it was put up for first reading. And we had unanimous support on the first reading for the project. Do we try to do that kind of thing again, or do we enter into some quiet discussions with individual council members and cities talking about what the proposal is before we finalize it and take it to county council?
Well, I can tell you as Bluffton representative, I've been in conversations with town staff, and some of the things that I've said here are a direct result of those conversations. And I can tell you right now, I'll go back after tonight's meeting and update them, but they're very comfortable with where we're going. So I would assume others have been doing that, or will do that.
A little bit. We're in chaos in northern Beaufort County right now.
I have not met with the town council, or the town reps yet, but I think I was going to talk to Tom after the meeting, and since he happens to live on Hilton Head, we'll probably double team just the staff, but 80% of our staff probably don't even live on Hilton Head, so that's going to be something that we have to work with. But I think it's important that we do some groundwork or background work first, and instead of just bringing it directly to council, maybe we can get it through a committee of council, which will help us and help us at least lay the playing field. Jared, what do you think? Ms. Tamanek, what do you think?
Council directed to bring us to them, or?
Did they direct it to bring it to
well,
them?
so I think going through a committee makes sense. However, this council, or this committee, is at the purview and direction of the county council chairman. So it's not an established committee. So if we talk to the chairman and the chairman, so technically this committee needs to report back to county council at whole, unless the county council chairman, who has the authority to appoint this committee, tells you to run through one of the other council committees. Tab, do you have thoughts? I don't know.
It
That's just
should
me
run
thinking.
through finance. To me, it could run through either, to me, it would run through the finance committee, because you're talking money, but the whole council is going to have to be on board eventually. And if you run through a committee, then the committee members try to bring the rest of council along with full information, because if you put out an 11-page document,
They're not reading it.
some of them don't, well, I read it, but some people don't read it, which means the rest of us would lobby it. I don't know, I think you'll get support. They know it's coming.
I think it would need to be a question from you as the chairman to county council chairman, and ask how he would like it, and you could, in your ask, give your thoughts. But that may, so, but last year was good because they took what you said and just hit stamp and approve, but is that the best way to get large support? I don't know.
If I could say, last year, the process worked, the letter worked, it got a unanimous first vote. The only reason it got side railed, in my opinion, is because, and we wrestled with whether we should even recommend it because of timing. But the only reason it got side railed was because of the green space
Tom came in.
penny. I wasn't trying to throw him under the bus, but yeah, Tom did it. I wonder if, this is just me, I wonder if we're bogging it down if we try and bring it through a committee when council as a whole was receptive to it last year and probably is receptive to it, and they're probably going to take it and then run it through a committee after we hand it to them, is
And
my
you're-
thought.
You're pushing more time in there.
No, right.
So the problem with finance is we don't have a county council meeting after finance committee. Generally, it's the one that doesn't have it.
That's right. It's a.
So if you went through facilities or Alice's committee, those committees have a county council meeting right after. But I know most of the people come to one of those committee meetings because we have a county council meeting after. You won't see them all at finance committee. So one of the other two is probably a good choice.
It could go to any of them. It has a flair.
Probably the best bet is put it through community, Alice's committee.
Clearly, what we want to be able to do, however, and for those of us particularly who are municipally connected here, before we bring this to anybody, we want to make sure that the cities, the municipalities understand it and hopefully will support it. And if the, all for it solidly, and we, something solid there, county council will tend to be more accepting of it than they would be if remember the fights we had over
Impact fees.
the Bluffton Parkway, the way we had, the extension, money to put Bluffton Parkway through.
It's been approved twice already, but anyways.
We got it.
If I could say one other thing, I was not on council when you presented this, but I was there listening. But most of the members know from last year, and they know you're talking about a penny referendum. So they know something's coming. And if you put this together with that, it's not a stretch. They get it. And I think the towns, the municipalities get it too.
Well, Dean's right, they need to support, the municipalities need to support this, and that's part of our job is to do that.
Sam.
Jared, could you, I don't want to forget to ask this, can you send us an updated version of what we went through last night? Because I don't know if we've been emailed kind of a 15-year.
This right here that we just went through?
Yeah, the one we
Yeah.
just, not the one that's up there, the one we just went through, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll take that, I have a meeting with the future mayor in the next couple days, and
We'll get it out tomorrow ahead of the minutes. We'll just send it out.
You all are the cities, we're the districts, you all have figureheads to speak to, mayors or whoever's getting elected in, do that. But my 2 cents is, absolutely don't bog this down. Do what we did before. They asked us to do this, they set up this committee, they gave us their employee, we worked really hard, we do a report, we hope they read it. Maybe we do it in a way that they can just read the summary at the beginning and then, expand on it more.
I might just take that letter and
Yeah,
rework it.
rewrite it.
Just change the date.
Well, and also,
And the amount.
it's fine for when you present it to council on behalf of us, that we could be there. If they have questions, we're there to discuss it. But I worry about it getting bogged down. Well, wait a minute, what about my section? Well, how come, I think if we workshop it, we're never gonna get it done.
Well, so the expectation from Chairman Passman at the very beginning that he set out was that this would come back by the end of the year to county council. The only time for that to happen is on December 11th. That's their only county council meeting.
That's when we'll do it.
That's when we'll do it.
See, if it went to Alice's committee before that council meeting, you got York on there, you have Alice on there, those are not hit by these municipalities.
But we don't have another one of those this year.
We only have 2
Yeah,
more
we're running out of
possibilities
days.
to meet between now and then, too.
She could call them.
December,
So-
December 11th
December
is
11th.
when
She
we
could
give it
put
to the
one on
county
there.
Or it could be a
council.
special one ahead of December.
November 30th,
Yeah.
December 7th
She
would
can
be,
do that.
because I assume we're not meeting
We're
next
meeting-
Thursday.
No, not, no.
special meeting
Unless you're
for a
cooking for me.
cycle contract.
What, how, are you good at pies? Are you
care
good at
what.
making
Let's
pies?
put it on there.
So not next
Run that
Thursday,
one
but then we'll have
item.
2 Thursdays
I don't
after
think she'd
that, then
care.
the presentation on the 11th. Am I
So put it
doing the
on
math
with
right?
that,
Is
a
that
special
correct?
meeting before this
Those are
one.
the dates.
It'll be a yes.
That's a question that we haven't, and it's probably not a part of this
It
at
was
all.
going so well.
But, see, that's the problem, I can never seem to bluff. Anyhow, get you on my home turf. Affordable housing, have we ever, anything ever come up about any type of affordable housing?
There's a
I'm just
lot
asking.
going, there's a lot going on there.
I'll tell you that I am married to the woman who is chair of the county's of the regional affordable housing task force.
We're making great
I
strides,
didn't know
Wendy
that.
Zara.
No, I'm saying,
Oh, okay.
but it's
I
transportation.
saw
We're
like,
sucked into, you guys just suck us into this stuff.
Community citizens.
in Savannah, right? They got some nice structured, affordable housing. It's like they did some type of experiment they did, but they built some nice places, top notch.
I think I know.
And they mixed it in where it was a mix of the community, not just, you had to be this type of income. It was high income, medium income, according to what you were, but you were in prime locations, prime spots. And they did 2 of them, one on the east side, closer to the Garden City side, and they did another one on the, I would say, that's the west side. Another one on the east side, closer to like,
President Street.
yeah, over in there. And
So they dropped off.
Right, and these are nice looking places, not just, it's a place that I think anybody will want to stay in. And I don't know how the experiment's been going, but when I passed through there, it looks like it's working.
Well, that's, what that takes is, and I think the city of Savannah has it, is a process by which when a developer walks in the door and wants to put in residential structures, multifamily structures, they put a criteria on them and say, you've got to make a certain percentage of these structures affordable. And there's very specific criteria for how they do that, and they can't look any different than any of the rest of them. They're going to be like the other ones, but you've got to have affordable structures in there. It's the most complicated damn stuff. It makes this look easy, figuring out how you do it. My wife there's a retreat tomorrow morning starting at 7 o'clock, that she's going to be at all day with her board,
It
trying
is
to work
such a
on it.
problem.
They say
But
it
they've made
encourages.
strides.
Dick
It
Stewart is vice
encourages
chairman.
the one population to want to do better. So I don't know how, just how that's been working.
Are you thinking, because it was listed in here at some point that we could consider it, that legislation is not passed yet, has it? To
No,
allow-
that was in the capital projects that we talked about. But yeah, that statute hadn't been introduced, or that amendment to the statute.
Can I just close the loop on presenting this? So if this has to go to council December 11th, we could ask Alice's committee to meet an extra meeting on that day beforehand. So it's a 2-hour block that you could have this whole discussion, and then you go into county council, and it would be a single item except for
Short
that.
discussion at county council.
Yes, because
Just
we
a
would already chewed it up and spit
Executive
it out.
summary, this is what we came out with.
And to me, that's your better path. Everybody can get in advance, read it, come with their questions, ask you, grill you. Then it goes to county council, and it's first reading, and we're done.
And it could be advertised that, hey, committee members, this is the topic.
Correct. This is the topic. Here's the things attached. Very important. Come and ask your questions. The committee will be there. That's how I think you should present it.
But that's predicated if Chairman Passaman says he's supposed.
Well, let me say, if you guys present it that way, Jared's behind it, or why wouldn't he?
I said, I'm just playing protocol.
Yeah.
When do those committee meetings normally start?
This is what we want to do.
When does the committee meeting normally start?
3 o'clock.
And then what time is it?
Council's at 5. So that gives you really good time to talk about what you did, look at the documents, let people ask questions. You'll readily know who read it and who didn't. And you could ask probing questions too. There's no reason you can't ask them.
Fine with me, I mean,
Is there dinner served?
Is that what?
Dinner served?
No, we get Doritos and stuff at 4:45. Yeah.
maybe the chairman
Don't
should
you
just
think
have a
that's a
bottle of
better
whiskey in the
path
car
to
out
move
the
this
parking
forward?
lot and have to bring things over.
Vice chair's
Go
responsibility.
out there.
Why would he say no?
Dean, let me, as the rookie, get up to speed, and I've got a couple comments and questions that you may have already answered, but I am communicating with the mayor and town manager, assistant town manager, and Jared's counterpart every week, so they know exactly where the committee is. But I think I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised by the vote on the school district capital. And I think Frank has laid a template at our feet of how to get this done. And I think we ought to pick up much of what he's done. And what he did most effectively was communicate it with everybody routinely and frequently. The question I have is, I get what Jared put up on the screen. Where is the detail added? At our level or Tab's level, county council, but someplace in that, if you go back and look at what Frank did with his communication, he put detail to it. And there was so much breadth covered countywide that anybody that looked at it had to find something they liked and motivated them to support it. And I think the same thing is here. So my question, and whether we answer it tonight or sometime before December 11th, where do we put the detail on this? Because I think that's missing here. Jared, why is there green belt in here?
That was something that started from last year, and we carried it forward, and we talked about it a little bit, but Morris, it looked like you can get a good answer.
Yes, maybe, I think that it was consensus that we keep Greenbelt in here because Greenbelt is a grabber for some people. And if they see Greenbelt as a part of this initiative, they will support the Greenbelt part as well as the road part. They go hand in hand, really, in the sense of having a good road system as well as good transportation system, I should say, as well as the aesthetics and all of those other things that would be a part of that green belt. The point too, Tom, I think we are just a committee now saying that yes, we have identified and we think that it's important for us to have this as a referendum, but the details should come from the professionals, not us. We are not the campaign committee. We are basically the committee saying that we saw the needs and we agree that there is a need, and we are recommending that we go after the penny from the public instead of getting into the weeds as far as the detail. The campaign of it cannot be done by us nor county council, is my understanding, right? The
I'll tell you
campaign.
what I think sold the referendum, because I go to the school board meetings. They have a citizen oversight committee, and they monitor the 2019 referendum, how that money was spent, and they report out. That's very important to people. Our uphill climb is, A, the bridge is still in abeyance, so people still remember we have that. And only, I think 16% of the people voted in the referendum election. Your election's going to be a presidential election. The
right.
volume's going to go way up. So we have to do a big sell on this. It's not going to go fly by the way the referendum did.
Your point.
A great big chunk of that 18
Yeah.
referendum that we've not done.
Correct.
which is the biggest thing to
That's
push
it.
to me that we have to do.
So
Your
you have
point,
to sweet talk
Yeah,
that.
well, that's why I told Jared, you know, as we approach the election next year, I want as many yellow vests, red trucks.
Trouble's happening, yeah.
Shovel people out on the damn road, so.
your point, Tom, is a good point, but that's not our job at this point to sell it. I mean, not to promote it as far as the election process is concerned, but we've done our due diligence, basically saying that, yes, we should do it, right? And then there's a citizen group or there's a promotional group, be it the Chamber of Commerce, be it the POAs from various communities, but that's a separate entity. So after the 7th or after the 11th, we're in the sunset, not unless you want to come back and be the poster child for the penny tax.
But I think it's an excellent point.
Yes.
Because we've done a lot of good work. I think we've done it twice now, right? And we have good recommendations, and we want to see it passed. That, we're recommending this, and we want that penny passed. So you're exactly right. In this report, we need to say, it's not going to get passed based on low turnout, based on, you know, we didn't accomplish as much as we wanted to accomplish from the 2018. I think those are all valid points. And I think the county council needs to take that into consideration and determine how they're going to go forward from our recommendations to do exactly what Frank Rodriguez did and his people. I think there was some discussion about whether that was ethical, whether he used money for promotions. There was some issues about that. I personally am thrilled that it passed. That's me. But no, this is all for naught if they don't get the information out. So I absolutely agree with you, and we should put it in our recommendation. Here are the troublesome spots you're going to have, and you need to get over those with a big campaign, however they choose to do it legally.
Is it your plan to update this document with current,
I would hope that somebody on the committee would.
Yeah.
change it to 15 years, 1 penny?
I would, what I would do would be to take, I wrote that letter, so I would take, I have it on my computer. I would go in and fiddle
Change
with it.
everything around.
And update it and, you know, make it go along with the things we've done. And I think having essentially a section on what you might call challenges.
And
would
you
probably
have,
be
just to look at what you have right here. I mean, you kind of go through
You got all of it there.
what we did,
If you're going
the
to do
charge.
challenges,
Yeah.
do pros too. You know,
You get an A+ on the project, I might add. It was excellent.
And don't you think people will understand, green space is falling off, so this is just a continuation of a penny?
but we have a green space component on this too, so people who are interested in.
Yes, but I mean, we're not rerunning the green space penny.
I don't see how
I hope not.
green space
There'll be
on
no-
this penny doesn't conflict with Davis's green space.
Complements it, right?
Well, it's actually more structured than Davis's green space penny. And it's gone, Davis's is gone at the end of this year.
And I don't think
Or
they'll
into
be
next
able
year.
to spend 100 million.
Oh, the green spaces?
Unless
I've got I work for the Open Land Trust.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have a whole list of
There's a
places to
list.
buy.
Yeah.
That 100 million can go like that
Yeah.
if they decided they wanted to do it.
Especially in the areas where there's high traffic and we're trying to buy it and it's high demand land.
unless the funds are used to buy density.
Sometimes you buy the land and you don't have to buy the density.
Well,
Yeah.
Or vice versa, you can buy the density and not the land.
And I personally like that, because then we don't have the maintenance of the land. And I mean, if we need the land for a park and ride, that's great. If we need the land for a terminal, we're going to use it, that's great. But if we need the land to say, gosh, we don't want any more developers putting 6,000 billion houses here, we just can buy the conservation rights and not have to maintain that property. Let the family live on it, let people live on it, maintain the trees, maintain, the county doesn't need to get into all that. So I'm with you. I think there's some conservation that you can buy and not necessarily buy the land.
That's where their heads are for the most part. They're not really interested in owning a lot of this property. There's some very big deals that are roaming around out there right now.
I got a question for you. So before December 11th, we have, next week is Thanksgiving, and then we have the 30th and December the 7th, and then the week of the 11th. So we have 2 meetings beforehand. What do you want to talk about the next 2 meetings?
What I will do for the meeting on, the next meeting, after Christmas, I will have redrafted this document, and we will have this available, everybody will have it to be able to review before we meet.
We may not need the meeting on the 7th, or we
Well, it
may want to
depends.
use it
You
to
might-
talk about
might-
the other 2 taxes.
Yeah. But I'll get a draft out so everybody can review that, and I'm done this all my life, so editing, people editing my writing is not something I am uncomfortable with. If you want something changed, we change it. I mean, so, do that in one meeting. And that should be, I think, next one. And that gives us then another week and a half. Finish up and polish up whatever we want to do, and we'll talk to the chairman. Maybe next week. Next week may not be good, maybe the week after Thanksgiving. Got to find out, what his plan is, and how he'd like to make this work. And I think that
If he allows us to do it the way Councilwoman suggests, are we all comfortable going on the 11th at 3 o'clock, answer questions, discuss, attend the 5 o'clock, hopefully get a thumbs up, and then see you later? That sound good? Is everyone okay with that plan if it's allowed?
Do we have to bring dinner in for you guys?
Yes.
Filet mignon, please.
want me to talk.
And you have to hold it here.
It's not a very close.
I don't see a problem, do you? Other than some people don't like to be told what to do.
Well, the only problem is, from John's perspective, he was told to keep it to very short on that one meeting, so.
Well, but this committee takes a top priority, so,
So
Yeah,
we can talk.
I get it, yeah.
I think your approach
Come in
is
and meet with you
worthwhile.
and John on this to talk about
it's
it.
really, you're going to have to convince the chair.
Yeah, and it would be great.
Yeah, I'm happy to do too. Otherwise, this pushes to January. And now
Or it just pushes to council meeting and the discussions
On the
fully.
11th, if we have to go before council, do what Dean has done in the past.
That meeting's already, I can tell, going to be a lengthy meeting
Yeah.
without any presentations.
So you don't really want to be at just the council meeting,
For the
presentation.
the amount of effort that's been put into this committee to have the amount of attention, I think you would get a greater attention at a committee meeting,
I do
as
too.
you suggested, and only have the executive summary presented at the council meeting.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go. And you explain that to the chair, he'll get it.
A committee you're not on, Dean?
What was that?
You're on the Open Land Trust.
He wants to know what's he not
Oh,
on.
okay.
I'm still on a committee over there.
He's not on the
And then I've got
county
this that I
transportation
dropped off in
committee.
front of everybody, Portland Sound Foundation. We're fundraising, so
What do they have to do with this?
Can we paid once the penny tax is passed on?
Okay, so, I will redraft the letter and have that in everybody's hands right after Thanksgiving, so that we have a chance to look at it and talk about it at the meeting, the next meeting.
You said, oh, you need a recommendation.
I'll redraft the letter so it
That
conforms
reads what,
what we've decided this time. And I will talk to the chairman, and if you kind of do your little poking around as in what we want to do, but if we want to go to, video or a presentation that we can put on the screen and talk details.
Yeah, we can make that happen. Sounds good.
All right, what else we need to talk about tonight? Ron, you got anything you want to add tonight?
Amen.
Well, thank you, everybody. This has been a great process, and I think we've got some things, thanks to the staff, that's done a fabulous job.
Move adjournment.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Second. Any opposed? We are adjourned, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dean.